Garrett, CEO and founder of TGG. And today I want to talk a little bit about our services and some of the questions that come up regarding our services. First question I get asked all the time is what types of financial services can be outsourced? Well, really any kind of financial services can be outsourced, whether it's banking relationships, whether it's your tax return preparation, audits, whether it's your internal bookkeeping, even CFO services. All of these sorts of services can be outsourced. The real question isn't can they be outsourced, it's should they be outsourced? And the fundamental question you need to ask yourself is, assuming the quality level of an outsource versus an in-house is exactly the same, what's the cost and what's the benefit? Ultimately, what I find is that when you're outsourcing accounting services, things like banking, yes, you should outsource. Things like tax prep, generally you should outsource, unless it's sales tax, 1099s, things like that, payroll taxes. But there are internal financial services that most people are talking about, like bookkeeping and CFO services. And at that point, there really is a formula that helps you figure out whether or not you should outsource those services. And the basic formula is, if you have more than 25 hours per week of work at a given level, whether it's the bookkeeper, whether it's the controller, whether it's the accounting manager, whether it's the CFO, if you have over 25 hours per week of work at that level, you should hire in-house. If you have less than 25 hours per week of work at that level, you should outsource it. It's much less costly. Now that's the rule. However, there's always exceptions to the rule. And one of the key exceptions is I want someone in-house. I want someone sitting next to me all the time. Okay, that's an emotional decision, but it may have a lot of other benefits to it that are not just financial. And the other decision that you want to make when you're thinking about this is, what does my team look like? Is it okay for them to be offshore? Is it okay to be outsourced? Is it okay for them? What kind of vendor relationships do I have? Where am I going? All those other things are really important in terms of deciding what the full team makeup should look like. Because again, the general rule is that 25 hours per week or more should be hired in-house. 25 hours a week or less should be outsourced. The other question I get asked all the time, another big question in our business, is how can finance and accounting outsourcing improve our business operations? The way I like to say it is, you really want to try to find the best of the best. But in today's environment, there is tons of turnover, there is tons of problems. And what if you relied on one person to do your accounting and that person gives you their 2 weeks notice? How are you going to make sure you get payroll done effectively, invoicing done? What about the inventory management? Oh man, if that person has all of that information locked up in their brain, you could be in big trouble. So when you're outsourcing it, your outsourcer should first create a process manual across the entire accounting department. The next thing that they should do is make sure that it's spread across multiple people. You need more than one person doing your accounting at a given time, and an outsourcer will typically absorb those kinds of things because an outsourced accounting firm is not immune from the turnover that is going on in the industry. They're not immune from people being people and having to hire people, fire people, all that stuff. But an outsourcer will shield you from that. And so you're typically not going to end up spending the extra 25, 30, 40% that it takes to go out and recruit, hire, train that person to come in and be an in-sourced resource. So outsourcing has a lot of benefits rather than hiring in-house. And the primary one is continuity and professionalism. Now, the other question that gets asked a lot is, are there any risks associated with outsourcing my accounting and financial services? And like anything else, there are risks. And the risks that you have are really risks of delivery. The biggest risk you are avoiding in outsourcing is a risk of fraud, because fraud happens with internal people. I have almost never, I can't even think of a time when I've ever heard of an outsourced accounting firm committing fraud. But I have thousands of stories of internal controllers, internal bookkeepers committing fraud or theft in a business. So when you outsource, one of the key benefits that you get is a significant reduction in the opportunity for someone to steal from you. Now, that said, there are risks that come with this, because when you're dealing with an outside firm, the risks are really a matter of cost control. When you're thinking about hiring a firm, they should have a project plan, they should create an org chart for the accounting department, they should create job roles and responsibilities, and out of that should come a project plan. Yes, a project plan. What's a project plan? A project plan is a list of everything that gets done every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year inside of your accounting department, so that you can guarantee you know exactly what's being done. It's being done in the most efficient manner and, most importantly, the most cost-effective manner. And again, if you're getting that project plan updated weekly, you'll understand exactly what's coming and costs won't run out of control, because your biggest risk with an outsourced accounting firm is costs running out of control with no accountability. The other thing that I hear all the time is, why is it beneficial to outsource CFO services? The question, why is it beneficial to outsource CFO services? The primary reason is very few businesses under 100 million in revenue actually need a full-time CFO. For the most people, they need a CFO 2, 3, 5 hours a month, maybe for board meetings, maybe for investor presentations, those sorts of things. But they don't need a ton of recurring CFO work. However, at random times, big projects come up. We're getting audited by the IRS. We want to go buy a business. We have to get a new line of credit. We're doing a massive vendor renegotiation with a Chinese supplier. All of these kinds of things are CFO level tasks. And that means that in any given month, you might have 15 or 20 extra hours on top of those 3 to 5 that a CFO is needed for. So why is outsourcing a CFO beneficial? Because they're only going to cost you the amount of time that they spend. So instead of having this giant fixed cost that often is just sitting there, or worse, working down the level or working down even further a level and doing bookkeeping, you now have an outsourced CFO doing work at the right level and only billing you for the time that's necessary to get the tasks done at that CFO level. Very efficient, very effective. Last question that I get from time to time is it helpful to outsource CPA services? And my almost always answer is absolutely. Your CPA services include things that are different from outsourced accounting services. CPA services are public accounting services. These are tax return preparation and audit. They primarily fall into those two categories. So when you're thinking about this, you should almost never can't have internal auditors, or it's not truly a CPA audit. And always you want a tax preparation firm doing your taxes. Now the key is, how do you hire these people? From an audit standpoint, you want reputation, efficiency, and effectiveness. And again, the concept of the project plan comes into play, where you want to make sure they have a project plan or a bid that is a firm bid, because cost control is a major issue with audit. Then secondarily, if you're thinking about a CPA firm for tax services, you do not want to hire a tax preparer. You want to hire a tax planner. The preparation is easy. That's a commodity. You can price that out. You can go to H&R Block, somebody else like that. That's a commodity. What you really want as a business owner is a tax planner, someone who's going to sit down with you at least twice a year, preferably every quarter, and they're going to look at your financials, look at the ever-changing landscape of the tax law, and figure out what little corner of the tax law applies to you and what benefit you can get out of it. They should be proactive, they should be tax planning, they should be knowing about your goals and thinking about what is the best way to legally cut your tax bill as low as possible.